Who here likes using open source software? Yay! It doesn't happen by magic, okay? Open source software needs people participating in the community, and that means looking at issues, helping do other things, but a big thing is reviewing PRs. And every single open source project out there needs help. And I know that there's a lot of fear about doing it because, you know, Linus might swear at you or something. But that's not like that for most projects, okay? Most projects, the maintainers are dying for help and often are stuck with somebody did an LGTM, but it needs two, and nobody else is looking at it, right? So I'd like this talk to help you feel comfortable about going into open source projects and communities and participating. And when you say looks good to me, people know in that community it means it looks good to the person who said that. It doesn't mean that it's perfect. That's not what you're saying. You're saying that I looked it over, I did a good review of this from my perspective, and it's good enough to go. So we have the usual suspects here. I'm just joking, but we should have the height thing going. So we have, I'm a manager of the Podman team, and we have 4 people from our Podman team that vary in experience and are going to share about how they did things from being a beginner PR reviewer to an expert PR reviewer. And I've got a few seeded questions, but then I'll start asking if you folks have any questions, and then we'll take yours. So first, so we have Jan Hansa. He started on our team a year ago, converting from an intern, so he's been at Red Hat for a year. Paul also started as an intern and has made 5 years. Matt started as an intern, he's at 10 years. And Miloslav just has always been here. So, it's great that we have Miloslav here. As his manager, people all over our company and in other projects are consistently requesting that Miloslav do PR reviews for them because he's specific security knowledge, et cetera, but he's also super excellent at it. So hopefully you'll tell us why, besides just do everything. So, okay, first question is for Matt. When a PR comes into the queue, what is your approach?
I would say the absolute first thing is, as a maintainer, I really want to be respectful of time, and especially my time. I have many other things to do in my day job, and I could be reviewing as many as 10 pull requests a day on a very heavy day. I would say 5 is more typical, but anyways. So my approach is very oriented towards how can I do this in a very time-efficient way. And the first thing, obviously, that catches your attention is what's the title. A well-titled pull request is honestly going to pull my attention before anything else. I can choose what order I review stuff in, and if I see something that has an excellent title, seems like it's going to be a well-presented PR, I know I can get that in and reviewed very quickly. So anything with a good title catches my attention, prioritize those first. Once I'm actually in and reviewing the PR, first question, is this something we would consider, is this something that makes sense? And before even looking at the code, looking at the commit message, I need to be able to tell, is this something consistent with the goals of the project? From a Podman perspective, say if someone added a pull request that completely changed the name of the project, or I don't know, maybe it's going to rip out some functionality that someone thinks is a bad idea, or maybe it's going to add 2,000 lines of completely undocumented code that does something we don't think is a good idea. Any of those things are grounds for immediately commenting, I don't think this is a good idea. Don't instantly say it's out. Like, even if you feel like you have something that's absolutely never going to happen, you need more eyes on it. So my approach is always, unless I'm the second person who said it, I'm always going to say, I think this is a bad idea, but I'm going to look for someone else. And if it does seem good, though, if I've read the commit description, if everything seems to be in order there, next order of business is moving on to the actual code. Now, I know there are other people here who go commit by commit. I go through commit messages last, usually. I'm just checking at that point to verify if everything is chunked up appropriately and the commit messages are good. I want to look at the big picture. I want to see the entire change, which can be very intimidating to review, but that's just my style. I don't think there's really a good answer between I go commit by commit versus I want to look at everything. Anyways, I'm a big picture person. I take the entire, I look at the entire diff, and I'm going from there. My biggest suggestion / point here is that I will try to, whenever possible, phrase my comments as a question. I don't know what the person who is doing something is thinking, so I basically, even if I think it was wrong, I will ask, should this be like this? Or do you think this would be better if we did this other thing? Basically, I'm trying to see if, I'm reviewing a lot of things in a hurry. I may think that something is a bad idea, but I am also potentially tired, maybe not paying as close attention as I can. I don't want to unknowingly insult someone because what they're doing is actually perfectly sensible and I'm just not seeing it. So my general point is try to be respectful of people who are reviewing, and especially I don't assume that I'm completely right. I know the project a lot better than most people, but if someone has a really good reason for doing something what they're doing, that's perfectly fine. If you can tell me in a comment, yeah, this is why I'm doing this and this makes sense, I will generally accept that. Anyways.
Great. No, that's great. Thank you. Did you have more?
No, I think that's
Okay, cool. And the next question's for Miloslav. Miloslav, what are the top 3 things you look for when you're doing a review?
Well, Matt basically covered the first 2. Is it something that we want? Is it implemented correctly? Ideally, you want those in that order, but it happens frequently enough that you see an implementation problem that reveals that the feature is fundamentally impossible or something. Try to be respectful to the person's time if you can, but this fails frequently enough. And the third is, can we maintain it over time? This is sadly a higher hurdle for first-time contributors. It's something that you can be a bit more lenient about for your long-term coworkers, because you don't know whether that person is coming back, and at the time the PR is being reviewed, the author and the reviewer are in the best position ever to understand what is going on. It is only going to ever get worse. So anything that is unclear, try to clarify it best in code. If it is not possible to make the code clearer, make the comments clearer, or document the thinking in the PR. Just try to be very clear about what works, what doesn't. And there is a fourth thing that I'm looking at. That's just a vibe. Do I need to pay extra attention to this? It may be because the area is tricky, because we don't know, we haven't maintained the code well enough, or just because the PR looks sloppy, careless. AI mate.
Okay. Next question's for everybody. And if somebody answered the question, you can say they answered the question, but it's how do you handle disagreements either with the PR author or with another reviewer?
I'll start out by saying I generally find it is more difficult when you disagree with the reviewer. If I disagree with the PR author, look, I'm the maintainer. At some point, you have to do what I say, or the code just doesn't get merged. Like, small disagreements in that are fine. Large disagreements that escalate will generally get your PR closed. I don't know what to say, but at some point you have to be respectful of the people maintaining the project. Disagreements with fellow reviewers over a technical approach. That's when things get interesting. Oftentimes, this is the point at which I want to pull people into a video call because I find that having complex technical disagreements over GitHub comments is often not particularly productive.
Nope.
Anyone?
Yeah, I think the most important part, if you have like a disagreement, is just talking to the person directly, like trying to make this in like a long chat or something like that. Often you don't get the full picture of why the person is thinking that. And in most cases, hopefully, like if, you know, we work as a team and we do planning as a team, oftentimes you don't happen to come across something you didn't hear before at some, you know, planning meeting or whatever, what goes into the feature queue. And so if there are disagreements, hopefully you solved most of them by the time you already planned for something. And if you planned for something, then going back later and saying, hey, this isn't the thing like I want is not the right approach. So that should happen at the earliest stage. Now, if some external person or something comes up and you have a disagreement, yeah, then you just work it out. And it's best to, like, if there are two persons, the best way to do that is like get a third person and try to break the tie. That's often the best approach. Or if you're a larger team, you know, the more persons, the less likely is it that you end up in a tie situation. So it helps. The more people are doing things there.
Great. Miloslav, yeah.
Yeah, in my experience, a large percentage of the disagreements are technical and those are easy. It may take work, but there is a good technical answer. There is probably a good choice. It's a matter of everybody understanding what the trade-offs are. And the remaining are value judgments where everybody understands the constraints. And we have a security fix. We must break ABI. Do we break feature A or feature B? Just recognize that you are in that situation and lay off a bit, give up a little. It's fine, you are not going to get it perfect. And also, it always helps to have a good working relationship as anything else. If you know the people, if you know the way they talk, they are not grumpy, they are just check.
Great. Did you have anything? Or?
Yeah.
Yep, great.
Yeah, maybe I would add one more thing. Just show the examples why not. Yeah, so put there that explanation why you don't think it is a good idea to do that. Yeah, and it will explain probably more things because you forget when you are filing PR for something, some edge case or something like that.
Okay, the next question is for you. Good mic placement. So what was the most daunting aspect of starting to review PRs? And how did you overcome it?
Yeah, well, I started reviewing PRs about 3-4 months ago. Try to do that on a regular basis, but I don't do it that much because at first I would like to understand the code base. So I start after half a year trying to develop something in Podman and understand how the code base work. And after that, when I got comfortable with that, I start reviewing and start with PRs which are short. And when I understand the title, I just go there, take a look, and then do review and try to do my best. Yeah, if I doesn't understand something, I can ask AI or somebody, some colleagues. Yeah, but sometimes the get answer from internet is faster. And then after I submit the review, then read the comments from others because they can point stuff which I miss. For example, missing some error stuff or some code style, yeah, and so on.
Great. So like after you do your review, you go back and see what, like Miloslav, what might it say? Okay.
Reading all that stuff.
Great. Awesome. And Paul, where's your question? What do experienced reviewers want out of less experienced reviewers?
Yeah, so I think it catches onto the last question. If you're a person who's starting out to review, I think it's important that you try to do it on yourself. So, you know, without somebody else looking at it, just try yourself to understand what's going on. And that includes the first part. You need to understand why this is here, like why this change is like, as a reviewer, that's like one of the important points. So if you're starting out, always ask why. And if you understand the why, then you can go into the code and look at the how. Because that should make the most sense. Like, how do you get to the point that you try to address? And it's not sort of important for the reviewer to like add the most precise comments or like catch everything, but they should just, you know, look, if I would have implemented that, would that look similar to that? And if you can say that, then it should look good to you. Like, and of course, the more experience you get, the more like edge cases or other things you start to consider every time. And so I would say like just try to do the thing yourself, and then as was said, afterwards you can look, and if some more experienced person got in, you can, if you missed something or not, and then you learn from that every time what you missed. And if you are very new to the project as well, and you are not comfortable like adding your review there or like saying that, you can still look at it yourself. You don't have to say looks good to you. Like it, you know, if you just do it in your head, like okay, that looks, and then you see what another person did, and then you can build up some confidence there to do what you like, add your comments.
And you said something really good earlier today, that when you go into a PR, you don't, just because the person is the main maintainer or whatever, you just review that PR like it's a PR that came in. And
like, don't assume
don't
too
be
much
intimidated.
on the person that is submitting. Like even if you are the junior person or in that interaction, like each person misses things. Like you can say like, hey, and just ask why. Like just, you know, be friendly, ask that for clarification, because if it isn't clear to that person, it might not be clear to another person, and so on. So maybe it should be clearly stated in either the code, the comments, like commit message, and so on, like why that was done. So that can be helpful.
Awesome. Miloslav wants to say something, and it's good because you have the next question.
Yeah, out of the three general areas, do we want the feature? Is it implemented correctly? Is it maintainable? In the second part, experts have no advantage. You know the programming language, you have the same source code. If you just take the time and you are thorough, you can do a review, and to the extent you understand the code base. But it's a place where you can always start. And it's fine to say, I have reviewed these three files, I think they are good, the unit tests are good. I don't know this half. That's extremely valuable, and it can save the other's time. And it's clear that which parts were not reviewed, which parts are done.
No, that's great. Yeah, you can keep it. I have one more seated question, and then if you folks have some questions, or I can keep doing this. Tips on how to educate and give good feedback while you're doing a review.
That's difficult because you are interacting with, you may be interacting with a person where you know absolutely nothing about the personality. In general, the advice, prefer questions about statements is a good hack. In many places, just asking why is it this way leads to a useful conversation. And also there is try to give the reviewer some sense of autonomy and freedom even in the smallest things, like don't prescribe identifier name when you can let the author choose. It means the reviewer feels more like a human than a robot. A special trick that I sometimes use for this is if I think there is an algorithm or an approach that should be used, I'm perhaps not 100% certain, and anyway, I'm not the PR author. I'm going to sketch that up in a different, higher level programming language. Like if we are writing Go code, I might write a suggestion in Swift. It's less work for me. It expresses the idea that I want. And it still makes it very clear that I'm just suggesting something and it may not work because it's not even close to a working code.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I think one thing for people to think about is when you do get this feedback, you're getting education from some of the best coders in the world, like I mean at some of these places. So they're not saying that you're an incompetent, they're just reviewing and saying the changes, this is the changes we want for this project, and this is a better way to code. So I think everybody should take it that way.
Yeah. And I think it never hurts to type more. When somebody submits a PR that disables TLS for a connection, take the time, write the paragraph. People are not going to pay attention. We must be secure by default. I don't understand why we would ever do this. There is 80% chance that this really should happen. There is 20% chance that this is a special case, and there is a good reason why it should be that way. If you just say, no, this is crazy, you've lost the contributor.
Yep. Okay, does anyone have any questions for the panel?
Yeah, so I'm an open source project maintainer myself, and the recent thing happening more and more are AI-generated pull requests.
Okay.
What's your take on them? Review them,
I have to repeat the question.
shorter, don't review them at all?
Okay, you got to repeat the question.
Sure. So the question is about AI-generated pull requests and what we're doing with them. Personally, I will review them. I am not going to be any more or less lenient than I would be with a normal PR. But if it gets too frustrating, I will give up on even a normal PR. So if it gets to the point where I have gotten halfway through and I've made a comment every other line, which can be AI PRs, then yeah, I'm probably just going to give up and say, I've gone through half. I found a bunch of things. I'm sorry. If you push again, I will give you another review.
Great.
Anyone?
Yeah, I think it's coming. You're not going to be able to. We all know we're going to use it, so.
Yeah, I think like how it is generated wasn't that important. Like you look at the merit of the code, and where I think it gets problematic is like if as we mentioned earlier, like why is this done, or like if that's not clear, like then that's a problem. And if you start asking why it's not done, then the other end feeds it into the AI and gives you some random response back that is clearly not answering your concerns, then yeah, then I just give up on it and then close it, or like, yeah.
Yep. Any other questions? Yep.
Where do you draw the line between enforcing, like, for example, uniform coding style or other best practices, and just being picky and pointing out every single thing that you don't like in your personal opinion, but it might just be like your opinion or your judgment? Where's the line there?
Okay, so the question was like, how do you enforce like the uniform like coding style, or like how to be like how much to nitpick or not?
And not going overboard. Yeah.
Not pushing it too far. So I mean, it depends on what project you are working on and what language. And like in our project, I don't think we have enforced linters, and like there's like auto formatting, so that already stricts down like quite some amount, and there's no arguing about that. Like you need to follow these rules. Beyond that, I try to not argue that much. Like if some line there, something like that. Like I don't try to do that. And if I think I do that, like I clearly say like, all right, this is like a tiny thing, like nitpick. I don't care if you fix it or not. That it's not blocking the merge. Being very explicit about that. Like if there are other concerns and you need to repush, would be cool if you can fix it up. If you're explicit about that, I think that can be good.
For me, the big thing would be documentation. I can be very lenient about code style elsewhere, but user-facing strings, and especially things like man pages, get an additional level of scrutiny and especially a pass to make sure it's consistent. If someone is reading man page A and man page B, and they read completely differently, completely different styles, there's no understanding of, I'm looking at this, but this other section is missing. Basically what I'm saying is your man pages should all look consistent, and as a maintainer, I'm willing to block merge to make sure that's true.
Cool. Any other questions? Yep.
So we are starting to experiment with AI review tools. We haven't rolled them out on any of our big repos yet, but we've started putting them in place in one of our small repos, and it's doing an okay job in the sense that it's not, the results are intelligible, they make sense. It's not, Paul, would you say it's correct to say that we haven't found anything that we wouldn't have found ourselves yet?
Yeah, so far, I mean, to be clear, like we have been trying sorcery AI, and it's like it works, but like I haven't seen like anything real interesting out of it so far. And one of the problem that tends to make is like it makes stuff up, and for me, that's like as a maintainer, it's easy to dismiss that. There might be a risk for like unexperienced contributor trusting that feedback, and that could become a problem for them, because then you go back as maintainer like, hey, no, that's not right. So if you use that, you probably need to make that clear, like on the feedback, that you shouldn't necessarily trust that. Yep. And if it suggests like code style stuff, like just ignore it.
Yep.
How to deal with maintainers who always disagree with each other on technical level?
I mean, the question is like how do you deal with maintainers that always disagree on technical level? Yeah, I don't think you can work as a team like in that case. Like it becomes a management problem. People probably need to figure something out. Like, and it burns yourself out, I guess, if you disagree constantly. Yeah, you need to look into another direction, I guess.
That's not any fun, right? Yep.
No, like for yourself, you need to ask if you can do that or not, and I don't think anybody wants to do that. So yeah, look into solutions.
Okay, I think we have a chance. We'll go ahead, and then we have a chance for one more question.
Well, is that question as a reviewer on the project or as a PR submitter? Oh, if you are a disagreement with your colleagues, then I have nothing to tell you. I'm sorry. If you are a PR submitter, presumably you are submitting for a reason, then project, despite all those differences, has somehow working and very useful. I guess take it out.
Right.
You might consider it forking it, but if it is so successful, that's probably not the best idea.
So one more question. Okay. Yep.
Can you think of an approach which you previously used but did not work and you had to
fall back? Okay. All right.
Repeat the question.
So the question is thinking of an approach that we tried previously that just did not work and we had to stop. Personally speaking, as a Podman maintainer in the early days, I was in every single PR. I made a point to look at every line of code that was going in, and my thinking was I'd be able to understand the entire project because I understood all the code, and that rapidly became just unmanageable. I literally burned myself out trying to review too many PRs, get my eyes on too many things, and I eventually just had to accept that, okay, I'm going to do what I have time for, and I am no longer going to be an expert in every part of the project. I'm just going to look at pull requests in this specific section especially, but I'll do a pass on anything and understand that if it's in depth, maybe I'll have to get help from someone who actually knows that section of the code better than I am. Basic point, you can't be an expert in everything once a project gets to a certain size. And if you try, you will probably do yourself no favors.
Cool. Well, 5 minutes more? Oh, great. So I have a chance for more questions if anyone else has one.
One thing I like
oh,
to
there we go.
for myself, like I think it's what's important to like give up trying to have everything being perfect and just accept some things that are like they are, and you know, like it's if you try to make everything perfect, like you make other lives miserable, and understanding that is important, because what perfect means to you doesn't mean perfect to another person, and that's creating conflict. So.
Yep. Any other questions? Oh, yep.
long threads, people are arguing in those threads, so how to manage those if the situation gets out of hand? I know it's
no, I don't actually have an answer. The question was, how do you deal with conflicts between reviewers and submitters when there are long arguments and disagreements? I don't have an answer to that, mostly. One thing is the technical stuff that's forgotten immediately. We've had a problem, we've solved it, we've moved on. If you have an emotional argument, honestly, what is going to happen in my case is that I have 10 other PRs in the queue from this month, 100 from the year, some of which were abandoned. If you are going to make my life difficult, I'm just going to move on. So it never happens that we have a long emotional threads. But if you get into the situation...
Sometimes we do have the situation where, especially in Podman, where another company or entity would like something to happen in Podman, and it goes against the vision of what the maintainers have for Podman, but they're like a customer maybe or something like that. And so, and we want people to contribute, so we don't want to just say no, but they really are relentless about needing this thing. Normally, you have to end up having a phone call or talking about it and seeing what you can really do, and hopefully you can work that out that way. But that's what, I've seen that happen quite a few times, where people want something and we're just like, that does not make sense for our team.
One thing that can work is often people come with solutions at you.
Yes.
And you need to ask what is the problem, and maybe you find another way to fix their problem, and then the conflict goes away once the problem is solved.
Yep.
Have you ever had a situation where you like the idea but hate the implementation? And if you have, did you coach the submitter through it, or did you just rewrite it yourself?
So the question is, have we ever had a situation where we liked the implementation? Oh, did we ever have a situation where we liked a idea but disliked the implementation? Yes. I'm not going to say all the time, but we have definitely had cases where you look over something. Complexity especially is the big one here. If they're trying to do something in an overly complex way, at that point it becomes, yeah, maybe we should do this, but not do it in 2,000 lines of code. So coaching people through it can work. The other quicker but substantially ruder thing is having a maintainer take the PR over. And we're out of time, but yeah, I'll just say that we fairly often take over abandoned PRs. Sometimes, even when it's not abandoned, you need to.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.